It's Friday, February 10th, and on Tuesday, President Biden announced that the United States has broken COVID-19's grip on the nation. And he also said, while the virus is not gone, thanks to the resilience of the American people, we have broken its grip on us, he said. And then he added that COVID deaths were down nearly 90%. And the administration now is turning the page on the pandemic. And in turning the page on the pandemic, we once again come to the realization that while we are prepared to pass many wonderful bills that help people, we also do not put into those bills the methodology that is required to ensure that those bills are handled properly. And I'm talking about the system in which we provide huge monetary benefits to various peoples, and then we get robbed. We got robbed of $191 billion in pandemic unemployment benefit, right? Because they were improperly paid. And why were they improperly paid? Because we rushed to get these benefits into place, and we did not put the proper procedures in place to monitor the audience that was receiving these benefits. There is no reason in the world why we got built out of $191 billion. And when we see this happening, we should be angry that we have to raise the debt. We must raise the debt limit, but we should be an angry nation about having to raise the debt limit. If we are pissing away billions of dollars because every time we pass a bill, we screw up the management of the money. This is a monumental problem. This is not something that happened today or yesterday or only once in a lifetime. Every time there's a bill that gives money out, that money is used improperly or stolen. Because that's what we're talking about. A big thievery here in this unemployment package. And thousands of people have to be involved in this. This is not one person stealing $191 billion. This is a cadre of people, a battalion. I don't know how many people are in a battalion. It might be a whole infantry division, the size of an infantry division. $191 billion. That means thousands of people were stealing. And how were they stealing? It was fraud. They were stealing using fraud. And the estimate is now 191, and it was 163 last year. The updated estimate that was released on Wednesday by the House Ways and Means Committee, and it was entitled The Greatest Theft of Taxpayer Dollars, Unchecked Unemployment Fraud. And I had heard about this, but the magnitude of this situation has got terrible. There were people, American people, who got money under 3 or 4 different names or different locations where they applied for these benefits. How can that be? How can it be that Sam Jones puts his name out there and gets a check from 3 different places? That just shows you that we were unprepared, that there was no centrally located monitoring system that was ensuring that everybody got what was coming to them, but only got it once a month or one time instead of getting it 3 or 4 times from 3 or 4 different places. That is what we know in Yiddish as a shanda, a monumental shanda. And you know who's screaming the most about this? The House Republicans, who gained control of Congress last month. They are highlighting the widespread fraud that permeated through the COVID-19 relief programs. Yes, the Republicans are the ones who are complaining about this, and it was the Democrats who passed this law. Yes, the House Oversight Committee is now Republican, and so they're looking over their shoulders and saying, look what the Democrats did. Well, they were members of Congress. This wasn't a deal that was done only by Democrats. Yes, the Democrats were in charge, But the Republicans should have been smart enough to say, we're not passing this thing. We object to the way this thing is being handled out. But nobody was objecting because all of them wanted to be good guys because the pandemic was raging through the country and our country desperately needed these relief packages. All of the congressional people, Republicans and Democrats, were at fault because nobody stood up and said, we have to watch how this money is being handled. And the GOP now also admits that they were in a rush. So those of them who are taking a position that if I was in charge, this would not have happened is full of shit. This was going to happen no matter who was in charge because they wanted to get this money out and prove to the nation how smart they were and how generous they are and what a great place it is to be in America because we save our people. But now when we look back at this and we see almost $200 billion have disappeared into the Netherlands, we're complaining about it. We're worried about it. And then we use that as leverage to say we shouldn't be raising the debt ceiling because we're letting people piss money away. But it's your job when you distribute this money to make sure it gets into the right hands and to make sure it's not given away recklessly. The new Republican House and Ways Committee called out the size of the fraud, the loss to the taxpayers. Yes, it was a great loss to the taxpayers, but probably not as great as the tax exemptions we allowed to exist for corporations. They're not talking about doing anything like that. They're not talking about raising taxes and correcting the fraud that they allow corporations to exercise. And now it's not true fraud because what they're doing is legal. The fraud is that our government hasn't seen fit to change the exemptions, to modify the tax laws appropriately so that most people pay their fair share. And there are many people in this country paying their fair share because they have no way of using the tax code to their advantage. So this is just another example of how poorly we manage our money in this country. How many ways we allow people to avoid paying. I would be taxing campaign funding. You want to give money to the campaign, you have to give some money to the taxes. It's ridiculous that candidates have war chests of millions of dollars to run campaigns. So we have a lot to do to deal with the way we handle our money. And this fraud should be worrying every single congressman and every single senator. I'm disgusted with the whole thing, so I'll leave you now and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.